What's up, everybody? Extra here once again with Totally Sick Fallout New Vegas Edition, and in this episode we're going to finish up the second half of our run of Honest Hearts, starting with a side quest to fight an optional boss. The boss that we're going to go fight is a giant flaming Yao Guai known as the Ghost of She. Legend has it, according to this game, that there was a little girl who wandered into a Yao Guai cave and was slaughtered by one of the creatures in there. And since she died before her naming ceremony, her ghost, I guess, wandered aimlessly until it came to possess the spirit of the Yao Guai that killed her, creating the monster known as the Ghost of She. Presumably the monster that we fight is actually just a giant Yao Guai, and it being on fire is an effect from the Datura drug that we took. Datura is actually a real plant that people have taken before, but it's not really one that I would recommend if you were looking to get high, since it causes amnesia, delirium, and it's also poisonous. So there's probably a few better things that you could do with your time than Datura. Like I said, Ghost of She is essentially just a giant Yao Guai that's on fire. Despite the fact that it's on fire, your damage over time fire effect from the Gehenna will still damage it.
By the rivers of...
Ghost of She hits pretty hard, but doesn't actually have a whole lot of health. The flip side to that is that once Ghost of She's health gets down to about half, a bright flash will cover the screen, and Ghost of She will split into 2 or 3 copies of itself. Once you kill the real one, all the rest of them should die. You go basically into this little valley, and a force field sort of surrounds the area. It's basically just like a big wall of fire that basically creates a battle arena for you and the Ghost of She. If you're lucky, sometimes a Cazador or a Mantis or some other enemy will follow you, and they will try to engage Ghost of She through the barrier and do damage to it. And if that's the case, then it'll basically just be distracted for the whole fight. That doesn't happen to me this time, but it honestly doesn't matter. As long as you can outpace Ghost of She's damage. I have a little trouble in the beginning, but then I get a knockdown on Super Slam, and then it's basically, Grand Slam from there. The only monsters that will not fight Ghost of She are obviously the other Yao Guai. When you defeat Ghost of She, you get an item from them called Ghost of She's Paw, which you trade into Whitebird for a unique melee weapon, which is a stronger version of a Yao Guai gauntlet. The weapon is called She's Embrace. So there's the flash, and then there's the split. Basically, Super Slam does most of the work for me. And then critical hits do the rest. So we'll take Ghost of She's Paw and then get the hell out of here. Essentially, I just try to get far enough away so that the monsters de-aggro and I can just fast travel back to Whitebird's cave. She's Embrace is actually a fairly decent weapon, except for a few minor flaws. It does have a 3 times critical hit chance multiplier, which is pretty good. And its biggest benefit is that it ignores damage resistance and damage threshold. So no matter what an enemy's is, it just straight up ignores it and does its full damage all the time. The downside is that not only is it extremely slow to swing, but when you're using it, Super Slam will not activate, which we can't do that. We have to have Super Slam. That's pretty much how you're going to take out some of the more powerful enemies in the game, like Death Claws. So now that that's done, we can begin the 4 quests that Daniel gave us. You can do these in any order. The first one that I do is I go and do the bear traps on the bridge. That one's probably the easiest one. all of these missions have two ways that you can complete them. You can either do it the normal way, which is to disarm all the bear traps, or you can basically kill all the enemies that are in the area. So there's like another mission where you can raid the White Lakes camp and kill all of them, or you can steal these little totems that they have. So every mission has an optional objective where, to complete it, you can just murder everybody. So, like, here's one of the guys that you could kill. You may have also noticed that starting with this downloadable content and then progressing on from here, I've been using quite a few of the chems or drugs like Med-X, Psycho. We're getting about to the halfway point in the game where, I've got almost the final armor that I'm going to wear, and I'm pretty close to the final weapon that I'm going to have. So besides the perks, I'm going to have to augment myself somehow with chems, and unfortunately there's a chance of addiction when it comes to chems, and I actually do become addicted to Med-X by the end of this video. The easiest way to get rid of that addiction is to just go to a doctor like Dr. Usanagi and just pay like 50 caps to have them removed. Addiction in this game works essentially the way addiction works in real life. You function normally while you're under the effects of the drug, and then when you're not, you take a penalty to your stats. So I leveled up there, and the perk that I got was Pyromaniac. This does a 50% increase in all fire-based attacks. So since the Gehenna has both a regular swing and its dot attack, those will both be powered up. So now instead of 5 damage per second for 10 seconds, I think it's 7 damage, 7 or 8. Depending on how the game rounds up. And then, of course, instead of base attack of 42, it now goes up to 62. So that'll be very helpful, as this next mission is you can either steal the totems that are outside here without being seen, or you can just run in and kill everybody. So that was the first camp of those guys, and then if you go through this little if you go through this little passage, you'll get a good look at the second camp that's around here. These guys are a little tougher, but it's basically more of the same. You just have to kill them all, and hope that none of the random creatures in the area come to try to attack you. You'll notice a little thing in the corner now that says you are a little woozy, and that's because that guy with the mantis gauntlet just poisoned me. So I have to take some Datura antivenom. This is the only bad thing about fighting enemies that also have shish kebabs, is it's really hard to tell what in the hell's going on when everything's on fire. Alright, so we'll search their bodies, and then now that all these guys are dead, we can go to the third mission. This third mission is way easier if you just decide to murder everybody. Basically, you have to go to a cave that has a bunch of Yaoguai outside of it, and you have two options. You can either kill all of the Yaoguai, or you can go inside the cave and plant explosives, and then come outside and then detonate the explosives so that it destroys the cave. It's way easier to just run down this road around the corner and then kill the 4 Yaoguai that appear, and then that's it. That's the end of the mission. Here's my snakebite tourniquets protecting me from the Cazador that was there. Otherwise, I'd be taking a shitload of damage right now. So basically, just go across this road and then walk around the corner and kill the Yaoguai that are there, and then you'll complete that part of the mission. Then finally, the last mission is we have to go get a map of the canyon, despite the fact that I have one already on my Pip-Boy. The cave to enter is basically directly above where my right side is now. Inside the cave, there's an interesting enemy that we haven't actually seen yet. They're basically these big Venus flytraps that spit like acid and stuff at you. And as usual, the Cazadors are no match for Super Slam. As soon as they get knocked down, they're basically toast. So, level up again. Basically, in order to get some of the final perks that I want, I'll want my medicine skill at 60, my science skill at 70, or, well, I'll put it up to 75, just to enable myself to hack the hard level of the terminals. And then finally, I'll want my sneak level to be 80. So, 60, 70, and 80. So you just need to go up here, kill these plant monster things. And then there's a door that we need to get through, and you can either pick the lock, or you can just find the key that's in this duffel bag. And then we jump down here and go through the door with our key, and then there's a bag around the corner that has the map that we need. And conveniently also has a bed that we can rest. So as soon as we get out of here, we'll fast travel back to Daniel and give him all this stuff, and then he gives us the option to either try to make our escape, or we go with Joshua Graham's idea, which is to take the White Legs on head on and just murder them all. So this being primarily a melee-focused character who's killed everything thus far, you could probably guess what I'm going to be doing, which is to just murder everyone.
I'm glad to see you're still with us.
Always seems like the simplest approach. So when you choose to do this, you start a quest called Crush the White Legs, and in this one you basically pop out somewhere towards the top of the map, and Joshua Graham is your partner. So I instantly put him on passive, and to make him use melee instead of his gun, so that he'll stick near me and won't run off. Essentially, you just have to run south back towards where we originally started in the very first mission of the game, where we came through, where all of our the Happy Trails caravan people were slaughtered by the Whitelegs. Which basically means a whole lot of running. Although, as long as you stick to the river, you shouldn't get in too many fights. You'll probably see me periodically stop and wait for the shortest amount of time, which is 1 hour. The reason I'm doing that is because when you wait, as soon as the screen refreshes, your whatever companion you have will instantly teleport to your location. Because I need to keep Joshua with me. The reason for that is because there are a variety of glitches that can screw up the end of this game, and in fact you'll see one towards the end here that I had to use console commands to actually bypass. Further up ahead, there's a rock slide that's supposed to happen to impede your progress, and Joshua Graham says, alright, you go through this cave and I'll try to find another way around and I'll meet you on the other side. And then you lose his companion perk, he gets out of your party, and then you see him later on in the final cutscene. Well, if he is too far behind you, when the rock slide happens, you'll just get a notification that says he's left your party, and then when you get to the very end, he won't be there, so the cutscene won't progress. The glitch that happens to me in this one that I had to bypass is a different cutscene not progressing glitch. Sometimes when Joshua leaves your party, and by sometimes I mean this happened to me all the time for some reason, sometimes when he leaves your party, he gives you his entire inventory, including his companion infinite ammo. So the cutscene is supposed to start, and he's supposed to... there's 3 guys kneeling on the ground in front of you. There's 2 regular Whitelegs guys, and then there's their leader, Salt Upon Wounds. Joshua is supposed to use his gun and murder the 2 regular guys, and then you talk to Salt Upon Wounds and decide his fate. However, since Joshua emptied his inventory and gave me all of his ammo, he can't murder them, so the cutscene can't progress. So the way that I get around this is I use console commands to enable myself to move during the cutscene, and then I just I kill the 2 guys that he's supposed to kill, and then I talk to Whitelegs myself, which it jumps you to a... There's several different ways that you can deal with Salt Upon Wounds. You can either have Joshua just straight up murder him. You can have Salt Upon Wounds try to defend himself, and then Joshua will try to murder him. Which is basically what happens to us. That's what the game assumes happens, is you talk to Salt Upon Wounds, and then he gets up and starts to equip his weapon, and then a bunch of other dudes appear, and they start to fight you and Joshua. So in the ending cutscene that plays, where it shows like what happened to everybody, the game assumes that the ending that you took, due to me doing this, is the one where Salt Upon Wounds tries to defend himself and then gets killed anyway. And then the third outcome is you can talk Joshua out of killing him entirely, but then you don't get the satisfaction of killing him yourself. So we finally made it here to 3 Marys, which is the Whitelegs camp. And as you can see, there's all kinds of crazy shit going down. So coming up here is the rock slide that's supposed to happen, after which Joshua will leave my party. And when you get the notification that he leaves, you'll be able to see in the upper left-hand corner that it gives me 45 ACP ammo, which is the ammo that the gun that he has uses. So that's his magical companion ammo that gets... Yeah, there you go. So basically you'll go through this cave, and then you'll pop out on the other side, and then you'll have to run a bit more, and then you'll finally be in the ending cutscene. Now, when you're fighting all of the guys that try to help Salt Upon Wounds and then Salt Upon Wounds himself, you can... Joshua will still not have any ammo, so if you want, you can also use console commands to give him ammo as well, but I choose not to, just so that I can do everything myself. Salt Upon Wounds is not a very difficult enemy, but he does have a very powerful melee weapon. It's a special Power Fist. So in that fight, you'll see me use poison for the first time. So the increase in damage from Pyromaniac and the increase in damage that it does to the dot fire effect and the poison, which also does damage over time, is a very potent combination that takes him out like instantly. And then everyone else you can just slash through, which will be especially helped by the perk that I will get as soon as I level up in a second. So for this level up, I am now level 24. It'll level up as soon as I'm out of combat, as soon as I kill this guy. The perk that I'm going to get is a perk called Slayer, which increases the attack speed of all melee and unarmed attacks by 30%, so you can swing like wicked fast. Especially if you have certain weapons that already have a high attack speed. There's also a drug that you can take that I'll make probably later on in one of the other videos called Rushing Water that also increases the attack speed that you have, so you can be even faster. So here's the ending coming up in a second, and also some sort of glitch that's trying to attack me. Some sort of body is glitching out up there. Basically, you'll just see like a jump cut, which is where I entered all the console commands in.
I'm not worried with you.
So we'll kill these last couple of guys. Stupid fire effect is making it extremely difficult to tell what the hell I'm doing. Also, if you think it's a little mean to not give Joshua Graham any ammo so he can defend himself in this fight, you don't really need to worry about him because he is wearing a special companion or NPC-only version of an armor that you can get once you complete this DLC. Once you complete it, there's a chest at the very end before you leave that has a bunch of stuff in it that a lot of the characters were wearing, and a piece of it is Joshua Graham's armor. Well, he's wearing a special NPC-only version that has a combined damage threshold of 50 points. Now, for reference, the highest damage threshold that any one piece of armor in the game contains is the Remnant's Power Armor, which has a damage threshold of 28. So, he's pretty tough. So here's the fight with Salt Upon Wounds. He is now poisoned and on fire. So while he's dealing with that, I'll go around and kill the rest of these guys. Slayer and Super Slam make short work of these guys. And just for funsies, we'll poison him again. And then when he dies, you get a ton of experience. And he actually dies before my final swing completes. So that's it. That's Honest Hearts in a nutshell. It's not too difficult. It wasn't my favorite DLC, but And then this little video at the end basically tells you, just like in Dead Money, it tells you what happened to everybody. Basically, the dead horses, the guys that you were helping, they took over the rest of the canyon. The Sorrows now became more of a warlike tribe instead of being peaceful like they were, much to Daniel's disappointment. Happy Trails Caravan, they got new trade routes, which was super awesome. And then Joshua Graham stopped being such a crazy psycho, so he sort of calmed down a bit.
White defeated at Three Marys.
And with that, the courier
And then you just return to the Mojave.
of Zion, and back to the gathering.
But before we go, we'll go to the little chest, or the trunk that I mentioned, and we'll equip a new set of armor, which will actually be Joshua Graham's armor. We don't get those cool bandages, but this is one of the better armors in the game. It gives you a critical hit, a critical chance of plus 3%, and it has one of the best damage threshold to weight ratios in the game. It gives you a DT of 15, and it's only 8 pounds, which is half of what the previous armor we were wearing was. But that is all for this episode, and I will see you guys next time.